Welcome to Agenda Edina, a news program summarizing the actions taken in these chambers that affect you most. I'm your host, Dorothea Marty. The corner office at Edina City Hall is once again occupied. Scott Neal began work as city manager November 8th and spent much of his first weeks on the job meeting employees, residents, and community leaders. About 100 people attended a reception to welcome the city's top new administrator in mid-November. The reception, held at City Hall, was hosted by the League of Women Voters of Edina.
And I look forward to working closely with the City Council here and moving forward with the agenda and directives and policies and initiatives that will keep this the great city that it is today.
Neal is the fourth city manager in Edina's history, succeeding Gordon Hughes, who retired in July. Prior to joining the city staff, Neal worked as city manager in Eden Prairie and as the city administrator in Northfield, Minnesota, Mount Pleasant, Iowa, and Norris, Tennessee. One familiar face and one new one will take the oath of office as city council members at the Edina City Council's first meeting of the year, January 4th. Incumbent Joni Bennett and newcomer Josh Sprague were the top vote getters in the November 2nd general election. Bennett received the most votes with 10,419. She was first elected to the council in 2006 after serving on Edina's Transportation Commission. Sprague, who currently sits on the Transportation Commission, received 7,889 votes.
I look forward to providing positive leadership to the community and building relationships with the various constituencies that we deal with. I think that will be key to our success both now and in the future.
Other candidates in the election were Todd Fronek, Steve Brown, Daniel Azar, and Timothy D. Kerr. The City Council has approved a 5-year capital improvement program that includes a 1-year budget and a 5-year plan for capital projects. Major projects planned for 2011 include the addition of a new wave simulator at the Edina Aquatic Center, renovations at Edina Liquor Southdale, a new water treatment plant, and several parking lot, sidewalk, and neighborhood street reconstructions. The total capital budget for 2011 is more than $27 million. Now that the CIP is complete, the Council will work to finalize the city's 2011 operating budget. The Council will hold a public hearing on the 2011 budget at its meeting December 7th and is expected to act on it December 21st. After 10 years of planning and lobbying, commuters will soon see some much-needed relief from congestion at the Highway 169 Interstate 494 interchange. The contract to rebuild the interchange in Eden Prairie, Bloomington, and Edina was awarded to the design-build team C.S. McCrossan, Edward Kramer & Sons last month. The announcement follows a decade-long public process that resulted in lower construction costs and a high-benefit design approved by local governments and the Federal Highway Administration. Referred to as a performance-based design, the project includes turning the current expressway into a freeway by rebuilding the interchange with 6 ramps instead of 8. It will also remove stoplights, reduce congestion, and improve safety.
During the first year of construction on 169, the 3 existing signals will remain to help control traffic and still have access to and from 494 and the frontage roads.
Initial construction on a bridge pier, retaining wall, and temporary bypass are scheduled to begin this winter, with major construction to begin in spring 2011. The project is scheduled to be mostly complete by November 2012. The Edina Art Center has a long history of supporting local artists and aspiring beginners. Recently, they held a first-time fundraiser to assist those in need. Edina 16's Scott Denfeld has more.
This past November, Edina artists and residents got together to help those who need it the most.
Whether it's the little child who's going through chemotherapy.
And they put on an event.
The event is called The Taste of Creativity, and it is a joint event between the Edina Art Center and also the Fairview Auxiliary.
Featuring wine, appetizers, art auctions, and artist demonstrations.
That's why right now I'm going up and down.
With the funds raised from the Taste of Creativity event, the Fairview Auxiliary hopes to introduce the healing and therapeutical benefits of the arts to patients.
As the medical community is finding other cures for diseases, I think there are also seeing how important art is to the healing process.
But the Edina Art Center board were not only interested in raising money for a great cause, but also raising interest in the Edina Art Center.
The Edina Art Center is absolutely a jewel in this community.
It's a neat facility right here in Edina, open to the public.
And based on the turnout for the event, there is hope that word will continue to spread about Edina's hidden jewel.
We've had a fabulous attendance, and we're so pleased by as many people that have shown up this evening.
I've seen a lot of familiar faces here tonight. I would like to see more unfamiliar faces. I'd like people to discover the Art Center.
For Lauren Efforts and Nathalie Gage, I'm Scott Denfeld, Edina 16.
Organizers say they have not yet calculated the total amount raised at the fundraiser, but that they do consider the event a success. Still to come, we'll check in on the retired Edina police officer Mike Blood 10 years after being shot by a violent bank robber. But first, the community comes together to keep teens safe on the road when we return.
Cold and snow continues throughout the day and late into the evening. My advice, folks, stay inside and stay warm.
I love that belt. I know, right? It looks so sophisticated. It really makes it look like you can take on the world. Yours is great too. Aw, and it's really comfortable.
Dude, where'd you get that belt?
What, this? I've always had this.
It's pretty sweet. I bet one would look good on me.
Well, there's one just like it right over there.
Oh, right on.
Welcome back to Agenda Edina. After 10 Minnesota teens died in car crashes last spring, the Edina Police Department embarked on a mission to keep teens safe on the road. Recently, the department offered a distracted driving forum where teens and their parents learned valuable lessons about staying safe behind the wheel. Edina 16's Beth Gibbs and I were there. For most teens, high school is a time of friends and fun, a time when lifelong memories are made. However, for far too many, it can also be a time of tragedy. The Distracted Driving Forum included this video presentation from the Minnesota State Patrol and several guest speakers, including Dan Phillips, the father of Kelly Phillips, a 17-year-old honor student and athlete who was a passenger in a fatal distracted driving accident.
And at 7:30, she said, "Bye, I love you," and went out the door, and she never came back.
Texting, talking on cell phones, and other driving distractions account for nearly 20% of all fatal crashes. And according to the Governor's Highway Safety Association, the majority of people involved in fatal distracted driving accidents are under the age of 20. The Edina Police Department is determined to make a difference before it's too late.
I think it's a huge problem because we have so many tools at our disposal that to make our lives easier, like cell phones and iPods and computers and laptops.
The Edina Police Department's Hang Up and Drive Teen Traffic Safety Initiative encourages safe driving habits. The program includes catching students driving well and rewarding them for it. However, officers won't hesitate to enforce careless driving and speeding violations.
Well, some of the other laws that we can use in terms of trying to enforce safe driving habits would include failure to drive with due care. Some people like to eat while they're driving. I've caught people shaving while driving. People that are reading maps or accessing maps or GPS systems while driving.
Dan Phillips speaks to groups about distracted driving with hopes that others can avoid the pain his family has suffered and as a way to help make sense of his daughter's death.
She only lived 17 years, but she did and still is impacting many lives.
Texting and using the internet, GPS systems, and other electronic devices while driving is against state law. It's also illegal for anyone under 18 to use a cell phone while driving. It's been 10 years since retired Edina police officer Mike Blood responded to a call that changed his life forever. A decade after being shot and left for dead by a heavily armed bank robber, Officer Blood and some of his former colleagues sit down to talk about the shooting and the long road to recovery. Edina 16's Marty Dahl has more.
I just remember that cold morning, how he was doing nothing but responding to a robbery, left there, shot multiple times with an assault weapon.
For many, it's hard to believe that 10 years have passed since Edina police officer Mike Blood
It's my honor to present this to you.
was shot and left for dead by an armed bank robber. On this fall day 10 years later, Officer Blood, along with 6 other Minnesota police officers and firefighters injured in the line of duty, is honored by the Military Order of the Purple Heart.
I want to say thank you to all those folks that were involved.
For Officer Blood, the memory of that fateful day remains vivid. November 16th, 2000 began like any other morning.
That morning I was going into work, the day shift.
Okay, can you stay on the line with me for just a moment?
But a call came in shortly after 10 a.m. that changed things in an instant.
Our dispatcher came over the air and advised us that there was a bank robbery at the First Star Bank at 69th and France.
Officer Blood, less than a month from retirement, was the first to arrive on the scene.
The robber stood up from between a couple cars. As I turned to look at him, he rotated up an assault rifle.
The bank robber, a former police cadet named David White, aimed at Officer Blood.
That round went through the passenger side window of my squad and struck me right in the hips by my gun. I knew I couldn't run and I couldn't protect myself, and I saw the only option is to play dead, and that's what I did.
Officer Blood was shot twice more through the back.
No plate, chase, westbound, 6-6.
I pursued him, and then he crashed, which I figured he would.
Edina Police Sergeant Scott Kuiper was one of many officers on patrol that morning.
I was more aggressive than he was, and a better shot too, and ended it.
Kuiper took down the suspect in the residential area of 66th and Ridgeview.
Most of our concern and shock was, quite frankly, over Mike Blood's traumatic injuries.
I ended up with 19 surgeries in all. There were over 50 bullet fragments taken out of my body trunk.
After 10 years of physical and emotional recovery, Officer Blood considers himself lucky.
I'm up and about. I'm going fishing. I played golf yesterday. So life is going pretty well.
Since the shooting, he's seen his 2 children get married and recently welcomed his first granddaughter, Lily, into the world.
You think about what's important to you.
With 10 years since the shooting behind him, Officer Blood says he will spend the next 10 looking forward.
I want to see my granddaughter get big, maybe have another grandson, get away and enjoy life.
For Edina 16, I'm Marty Dahl.
Since his shooting, Officer Blood has been active in a number of organizations, including the Red Cross, area churches, blood centers, and the Musculoskeletal Transplant Foundation. Neighborhood watch groups sprang up across the country in the 1960s after a woman was murdered in Queens, New York. People became outraged after learning that witnesses did nothing to save the woman or catch her killer. Only after the incident did local groups of citizens decide to take action. Here's Kaylin Martin with more on Edina's own Neighbors Home Watch program.
Police like to know what's going on in their city. And it's Neighbors Home Watch in Edina that does just that.
One of the things that we preach the most is getting people to call us when they see something suspicious, but people always feel awkward doing that because they think it's nothing or that it's just something they don't need to concern themselves with.
Chief Long is a frequent guest at neighborhood meetings.
Kind of an opportunity for me to educate them of what's going on in their neighborhood and a chance for them to ask me questions about the crime.
They noticed that either the person didn't belong in the neighborhood, looked out of place, or was kind of up to no good.
As well as the program coordinator, Amy Canepa, who runs the meetings.
The Neighbors Home Watch program is a way to facilitate communication between neighbors and the neighborhood and the police department. It's a way to educate people on how to prevent property crimes before they happen.
Amy came over and gave us a really nice presentation.
Edina resident Jill Askey is an advocate for the program.
It helps us a lot by just getting us together and keeping us aware of what we're watching out for our own security. We're the best ones to know when something's out of sorts or not quite right, and we can call and report it in and have it looked into.
And what safety tip does Canepa stress most?
For yourself to close your garage door, lock your door.
With Steve Christensen, I'm Kaylin Martin, Edina 16.
If you'd like to start up your own Neighbors Home Watch or learn more about the program, contact the Edina Police Department at 952-826-1610. Shoppers will find it easier than ever to patronize the shops and restaurants in downtown Edina this holiday season. Restaurants at 50th and France are offering valet parking daily through the end of the year during the lunch and dinner hours. For a fee, shoppers can leave their cars with the valet company on France Avenue at a spot between Edina Grill and Salute. Cars will be parked in an area municipal ramp.
Because there's so many shoppers down here, sometimes it does get a little packed in the ramp, so we hope this will help.
The valet parking is a trial project. If businesses want to continue it into the new year, the City Council will further consider the valet company's use of the municipal parking ramps. Before we go, we want to highlight some of the many upcoming events in our community. City Hall will be closed December 24th in observance of Christmas and December 31st for New Year's. Edinburgh Park will host a New Year's Eve family celebration from 6 to 9 p.m. December 31st. The event includes food, dancing, and games. The countdown to bring in the new year will be at the stroke of 8 o'clock, giving little ones time to celebrate and go to bed on time. On behalf of Edina Community Channel 16, happy holidays. Thanks for watching this month's episode of Agenda Edina. I'm your host, Dorothea Marty.